Dropping out would be the easy route. I've never taken the easy route. I've been the underdog in every race I've ever run. I've always been David, taking on Goliath. And like David, I'm not just fighting someone bigger than me. I'm fighting for something bigger than myself.
That was more from Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley, who is vowing to stay in the race no matter the outcome of this weekend's GOP primary in South Carolina that is coming up Saturday. Joining us now, congressional reporter for The New Republic, Grace Segars. Grace, you've been following these races very closely. Thank you for being here. So let's talk about Nikki Haley. She's not going to win on Saturday. I think we can safely predict that. And though it is her home state, odds are she'll face a pretty decisive loss. Polls have narrowed slightly, but we're talking narrowed from being down 40 points to maybe being down 20. But she seems pretty committed to staying in to Michigan, which is next week, and then Super Tuesday after that. Do we believe her?
I think that she is committed to staying in. At this point, it would be a very bad look if she backed out now that she has pledged that she would stay in until Super Tuesday and perhaps even beyond, even if she loses significantly, which she is expected to do. It would be pretty embarrassing at this point to back down. I do wonder where this fiery version of Nikki Haley was a year ago when she could have been criticizing Trump this much then and perhaps been able to coalesce her support more from the anti-Trump faction. And instead, it seems too little too late.
Yeah, there was, I think, that window where before his indictments where she could have gone on the attack and maybe had more of an impact. So she's staying in. So what are her aides saying in terms of what the game plan here is? Is it simply is it simply a courageous stance, and if so, good for her? Or is it also the idea of like, well, if I'm the only alternative and something were to happen to Trump, criminally or otherwise, well, then that's a reason to hang around?
I think it's very much the latter. Partially, sure, it may be a little bit of a courageous stance, if you want to put it that way. But I also think that they are definitely hedging their bets. They're saying, look, Trump is old, Biden is old, Trump could possibly be convicted of something we don't know, and might as well stay in until the end. So I really think that that's their goal, and also looking potentially at the future as well. It's never too early to look at 2028 and to see him as a viable alternative to whatever comes next.
Grace, I'm officially saying it's too early to look to 2028. I can't. I'm already tired thinking about that. The Trump team has obviously said, look, this race is over. They put out a state of the race memo yesterday to kind of counteract the Haley speech, and they're saying, look, we're going to win and win big. They probably are. But chart for us this next week or so. Is there a chance that Haley could fare better in Michigan? And how's the Super Tuesday calendar looking for her?
Well, I think she could definitely fare better in Michigan, where there may be more Haley-interested Republican voters as opposed to in South Carolina, which, despite being her home state, is very strongly pro-Trump. Michigan, there may be some more moderate Republican voters there. Super Tuesday, it's a whole host of states. She could do better in them. But Trump's campaign aides are saying that even if she won what she won in New Hampshire, 43%, in all of the states going forward, she would still not be able to catch up to Trump's lead. So even if she does that well, she is probably not going to do well enough to beat him, and it's very hard to see if she can get better than him.
And let's talk about the impact she could have in the general election. She were to, let's say she loses, but she hangs around for a couple more months. Something like yesterday, where she billed a major speech, got picked up by Fox News, which does not carry a lot of her events, but they carried yesterday. She's delivering these attacks to Donald Trump to Republican audiences who aren't going to hear them if Joe Biden says it, perhaps. Is this a way where even just on the margins where Haley could make a dent and help Biden this fall?
Well, I think she was very clever to bill this big speech, and then Fox News and others picked it up when they may not have because they thought she was going to drop out. Instead, she got to give a campaign speech. I think she will have an impact, but I don't know if she will drop out and immediately endorse Trump, as some other candidates have done. That doesn't seem her style, but she could definitely be a bit of a power player if she decides to hold on to her endorsement until the very last moment.
It is maybe a little telling in the last couple of days. She's backed off a little bit. Her previous pledge to support Trump. Now she's saying, not necessarily. Good stuff this morning from congressional reporter for The New Republic, Grace Segars. Grace, thank you for joining us this morning.